Hello everyone, it is Joe here from OmniPoke, the channel that brings you guys everything Pokemon, and today we are going to be looking at Buzzwole Garbodor. It's an archetype that's been doing quite well recently, starting off in Leipzig where I got top 4 with Mark Lutz. It then saw play in Collinsville, getting all the way to 2nd place and a few more in top rankings as well, and even in the regionals in Salvador, which has just started to conclude. That also had 2 lists of Buzzgarb in the top 8, so it's definitely a powerful archetype, really trying to hate on the heavy Zoroark meta that we are in right now, trying to not only hit for weakness on Zoroark, but also turn off its abilities, and in general, abilities are everywhere. Excuse my cat's tail there. Abilities are all over the place. There's Greninja, there's Magnezone, there's Bulu, there's Gardevoir. But in general, we're trying to, even things like Octillery and Lycanroc from Buzzwole mirror matches, there's all sorts that we're trying to turn off, and Garbodor does that very, very well. So that's what the archetype's all about. Let's talk about the card conclusions and the list itself. So first of all, the main attacker, Buzzwole-GX, 190 hit point basic, fighting type of course, very important right now, with Zoroark being around. It has the Jet Punch attack for just 1 energy, dealing 30 damage to the active and 30 to one of your opponent's benched Pokemon. This is really nice, early pressure, can knock out Zoruas, of course with weakness, and we can knock out other things with the combination of Strong Energy and Fighting Fury Belt that we play in this list as well. So you can very efficiently deal with low HP basics in the active, as well as start setting them up on the bench. And in general, you're setting everything up for knockouts regardless. On the 30 damage to the bench, you can make numbers a little bit easier for you against some tankier stage 1 Pokemon, things like Golisopod, stuff like that. You can get those early damage pokes in so that future Knuckle Impacts and maybe even Absorption can get 1-hit KOs. That's the main intention of Jet Punch, but oftentimes you're trying to pressurize and pick off the low HP basics that are roaming around the format right now. From there, Buzzwole has 2 very strong secondary attacks. Knuckle Impact for 3 fighting does 160 base, and this Pokemon can't attack during your next turn. So similar to the Ho-Oh and the Volcanions that we've seen with this sort of effective attack. So sometimes your Buzzwole can get stuck, requiring a Floatstone or a Guzma to maybe move out of him, or you just have to pay retreat as well. That's always an option. But yeah, it's normally a big blow-up attack. 160 as a baseline is almost KOing anything, but with strong energies and once again Fighting Fury Belt on top of that, you're pretty much getting 1-hit KOs. Not to mention if Jet Punch has been setting things up, you can quite often get 1-hits with this attack, so very good stuff. Also, Absorption GX is a decent option here. Again, 3 fighting energy. It's the main GX attack that we have in the deck, and it does 40 times the amount of prize cards you have remaining. So again, it's another means of blowing something up in the active position, but crucially, it doesn't have the negative impact that Knuckle Impact's effective attack has. So if your Buzzwole can take a hit, oftentimes it's better to go for Absorption, because you can take a 1-hit KO, they hit into your Buzzwole, then you take another 1-hit KO with Knuckle Impact, and it's a great way to swing for prize cards, because Buzzwole is a pretty beefy basic, especially with the Fury Belt on top of that. Do bear in mind he's weak to Psychic, which is a bit of an issue. There's Evolution's Mewtwo running around, there's Trashalanche Garb, and there's even Mew EX. Of course, we can turn off Mew EX with Garbodor, but they can always Field Blower. Or if we don't have Garbodor set up, Mew EX is going to be a big issue. So there are a few non-Psychic weak Pokemon in this deck just to mitigate that weakness that we do have, because it's something that is somewhat of a concern, and one of the main ways people keep up with the Buzzwole archetype, to be honest, is just by shoving some Psychic Pokemon in their deck to improve the matchup, because otherwise, Buzzwole can run rampant and easily take 4 prizes on his own, and then it's down to you to set up another Pokemon throughout the game to see if you can win, and that's pretty much it. For the other supporting cast, we have one Zygarde-EX. He also has 190 hit points, which is very nice. Lance Pulse is another nice early pressure attack that does 20 plus 20 more if there's any Stadium in play, which we do play 3 of, so there's a decent chance. And again, just like we're saying, early pressure with Jet Punch, Strong Energies, and Fury Belt gets us a little bit higher with Lance Pulse. Sometimes we're able to knock out lower HP basics. Cellstorm is a nice medium attack. For fighting and colorless, we do 60 and heal 30 from ourselves. This is a great way to 2-shot, especially with the bulkiness that a Fury Belt can provide to Zygarde. You can sometimes do a nice 2-hit KO exchange whilst healing yourself out of 2-hit KO range from the opponent. And it's a nice way to again, preserve energies and start powering up things on the bench while still doing a good amount of damage. Landsraft does 100 base, so oftentimes you're going to need the help of multiple strong energies to get into one-hit KOs with this, but this can again be another two-hit KO style attack, a little bit bigger this time. And most importantly, weak to grass, not weak to psychic, so he can be helpful if you're concerned about some of the psychic stuff. Of course, the weakness to grass isn't fantastic either, because Golisopod's still a popular archetype alongside Zoroark, and even with Golisopod Garbodor, so be aware of that. But yeah, Zygarde-EX, different weakness, and that's the main reason why he's in the deck. We're also playing one copy of Sudowoodo. Its Watch and Learn attack is a nice, efficient attack cost against certain matchups. Most importantly, because it's just 2 energy instead of 3, this can be really nice in a Buzzwole mirror match, where oftentimes you're trying to exchange big one-hit KOs with Knuckle Impacts and Absorption GXs. You can come in with your Sudowoodo and only need 2 energy to get a response KO on them, and really it forces the opponent into an awkward spot where they need to get even more energy on the board to respond than just the Sudowoodo. So when we play Brooklet Hills, it's quite easy to get access to him quickly, get Elixiring onto him, just get a turn attachment onto the Sudowoodo, and he offers a great threat to the opponent if they're going to be a one-hit KO deck. Things like Buzzwole, also things like the Ho-Oh Kiawe deck that's popped up. We profiled that recently on the channel. And a few other one-hit KO style attacks around right now, so being able to watch and learn those is very good. Let alone things like Zoroark just doing a Righteous Beating. You can watch and learn thanks to your weakness, because of course you are a fighting type. You can respond on a Zoroark quite effectively, so even 2-hit KO style attacks can get punished if you're facing down Zoroark variants. So Sudowoodo, a very nice, efficient attacker with the amount of one-hit KOs roaming around the format right now. From there, we are taking the Mark Lutz approach of just playing the 1-1 Carbink line. I've tried out the 2-2. I found it way too clunky. I think Carbink is great. I think originally Mark played it because he was worried about mill decks, and he was able to get a few free rounds in Leipzig. I know that for a fact. And it was one of the contributing factors to how he ended up getting into the top 8 in the first place. But we saw the Mahone list playing a 2-2 Carbink line. I think it's a little bit passive, a little bit slow for the format that we're currently in, a little bit too weak to Guzma in my opinion. So I'm just going for the 1-1 line. I think it still offers enough. It means that we pretty much auto-win mill, and it also means that we have a means of recovering if our elixirs fail us, but in general, the plan A should be as aggressive as possible with our Buzzwoles and just elixiring through the game. Especially with Sudowoodo, I feel like oftentimes you don't need the Carbink, but having the 1-1 available is still fine. And again, with the Brooklet Hill search that we have, it's quite easy to get the Carbink out if you're having a slower turn or two. So I still think it's very versatile and helpful, but I don't think we necessarily need the 2-2 count. I'm choosing the Energy Keeper Carbink, as I said, because I feel like it does way more for you than Safeguard ever would. I know that there's things like Mew-EX roaming around, but there should not be any situation where a Mew-EX is hitting a Carbink. Like, if that's happening anywhere, you're already winning. So it doesn't make much sense to me to have Safeguard up, especially because if you're facing a Mew-EX, it's probably a Zoroark variant, so you probably want Garbodor in play over a Safeguard Carbink anyway, so just makes sense to me to go for the Energy Keeper. I know it has 10 less hit points in general, but I think overall it's still just the best card because it actually provides a defense against Mill, which is not a huge archetype right now, but there are a few things still roaming around like Sylveon. And then Diamond Gift does 20. You can attach 2 energy cards from your discard to one of your fighting Pokemon. This even allows you to recover strong energies because it just says energies. So this can be nice for reloading and making sure we do the most powerful attacks. It means sometimes even Landsraft can get one-hit KOs, and it means that Knuckle Impact is obviously going to be a very threatening attack. So a great way to reload your Buzzwoles if need be. But again, only a 1-1 line because I'd rather just have more consistency cards because this is a Garbodor deck. Can't draw cards naturally, so you need to rely on a high support account, and that's what I'm preferring in my list. 2 copies of Tapu Lele for those early wonder tags before you get your ability lock online. Going to be really nice, and again, we have Energy Drive as an option. We are an Elixir deck, so you can get Leles out of nowhere just to go for 2-hit KOs. Similar to the Sudowoodo, where it's just a 2-energy attack rather than the big 3 from Knuckle Impact, so it can definitely keep us in the game, and it's something we should bear in mind. From there, a 2-2 line of the Garbotoxin Garbodor. Garbotoxin, of course, going to be really important for all those abilities I mentioned earlier, and turning those off, we are playing 7 of our own tools. We should have plenty of outs to do that. and it's just going to be very helpful for us to keep in the game, and it's what makes this deck more of a lock style deck in comparison to Buzzwole, Lycanroc, or Lycanroc with Octillery. This is the more lock style aspect to try and stop your opponent getting their strategy going, and it is very efficient and can be a lot of denial for some ability focused decks. Onto the items, we're playing very simple item counts in this list. 4 orbs of Max Elixir, because we need to get these high energy attack costs from Buzzwole rolling as often as possible and have a backup attacker for if our Buzzwole is knocked out, as well as 4 copies of Ultra Ball so we can get into these Pokemon once again and make sure we can establish things like early Trubbish, because you'll notice that we're not playing anything like Bridget in this list. So having Ultra Ball in here can help us get early Trubbishes, early Garbodors, and get our Pokemon in general ready to go. It's also early outs into supporter cards alongside Tapu Lele. 3 copies of Brooklet Hill is our stadium of choice to get more basics down. Always good to get these onto the bench, because then it makes your Max Elixirs live, so it's great to get these down on the board early. I know a few decks are playing Brooklet Hill right now, but I still prefer this to Parallel City because it's a live card that thins your deck, which is really important for Max Elixir, as well as just being a Garbodor deck that can't draw many cards inherently. You have to thin the deck as much as possible naturally so that you can improve your draws to then draw into supporters, which gets you out of a bad funk. And oftentimes this deck will lose games because it can't draw enough cards and can't get out of its own lock, really. But the Brooklet Hill hopefully gives you more powerful, explosive starts to getting into multiple Buzzwole, establishing Sudowoodo, establishing Carbink, getting that thinned out of your deck, because then you can just improve every other draw for the rest of the game. So I prefer this to Parallel City, even though Parallel is a very powerful card in general. It's not a draw card, and it's not going to help you in a turn 1 situation where you have nothing going on, whereas Brooklet Hill does that for you. So that's why I'm choosing to play 3 copies. Choosing this over anything like Field Blower, just because we're only really concerned about bouncing stadiums. We don't really care too much about tools. I think this is one of the only archetypes that plays Fury Belt on our own side. Sure, every now and then it would be nice to Field Blower off like Float Stones and stuff if we're combining it with an N and trying to deny people like Guzma plays and stuff like that. But overall, I think there's enough jank in this list that you just want to simplify it as much as possible. Looking at this this list right now, it is just as simple as it gets, really, and that's how I like to play this archetype. Onto the tools, as I mentioned, 7 of them, 3 being Fighting Fury Belts for that nice buff of hit points to hopefully make our Buzzwoles go that much longer, so we can get 4 prizes out of 1 single Buzzwole, so it really lowers the strain on us hitting loads of elixirs. That's going to be very nice, and the little 10 damage does help out a lot. It means Knuckle Impact, even without any strong energies, can KO Tapu Lele's, and with 1 strong means we're hitting like opposing Buzzwoles and other 190 hit point Pokemon, so that's going to be really important. And of course the 4 floats, great on Garbodor, obviously, but also we have things like the Chunky Buzzwole that if you have enough strong energies on him, you can choose to play a Float Stone instead of a Fury Belt, and then retreat out of him after a Knuckle Impact, so that's something to bear in mind. And from there, a huge 14 count of energy, opting to play a full 10 fighting rather than 9 and like 1 Super Rod. I figured that, again, it's one of these things where we go ahead early sometimes, especially against Zoroark variants, and you'll get end to a low hand size, and you never want to draw into Super Rod, and you never want to play Super Rod when you're being end to a low hand size, because you're putting back 3 targets from your deck that aren't very good. Typically, they're going to be like basic energy, and just that's going to improve your elixir outs, sure, but it doesn't help you if you're getting end to a low hand size. Whereas just drawing into 1 physical copy of Fighting Energy, that's a playable card instantly, which is nice, and it improves your elixirs in the first instance. So you may as well just have a thinner deck that way by hitting your elixirs in the first case scenario than trying to hit them late game via a Super Rod play. Because in general, I think you're going to get end to a low hand size, and it's going to be so much worse for you if you have Rod. So instead, I'm just going for a 10th physical copy, because it's more of an insta-play card in general. And I think that just makes the most sense to me. And of course, 4 of our energies aren't going to be strong because they give us an insane damage buff of 20 each time we attach, which helps early game pressure with Jet Punching, and in general getting big 1-hit KOs that we can of course recycle with Carbink. So looking at some other options that we could play in this list, I think really Parallel's one of the biggest ones that we would think about. Like I said, it doesn't draw us cards, and it doesn't help us with the jank situation that this deck can sometimes have. That's why I'm not playing it, but it can provide a huge headache for a bunch of decks, and it forces more field blowers from the opponent, which means sometimes Garbodor stays around because they've had to field blow at other targets like Fury Belts and Stadiums. That's something that you definitely should be aware of, because field blower is one of the best direct counters to Garbodor outside of just Guzma KOing it. So that's something that you can and should be aware of. But in general, I'm happiest with the Brooklet Hills right now. The other card you can think about is Choice Band, the tool count. I know Mark played a high Choice Band count, but I've seen all the Collinsville lists, they were playing Fury Belts, and I kind of agree in this case, because also most of the Buzz Rock lists, they all play Regirock, and that means that you can hit like 60 HP basics, and Fury Belt does that in a similar way that the Regirock would, and I think early math fixing is also pretty important for this deck for good early pressure. So I quite like playing the Fury Belts rather than Choice Bands, but I think you can quite happily play a split. I think the only other cards I would consider, Field Blower being one of them. I mentioned why I'm not playing it, and the same reason for Super Odd. I'm trying to be as streamlined and simple as possible. 11 draw supporters, the Sycamores, the Cynthias, the Ends, they all speak for themselves, and the Guzma as well. I think they all just speak for themselves, really, and how powerful that they are. And I'm trying to maximize their counts, other than, just 3N instead of 4. I think you can get away with 11, but I think I've been as minimalistic as possible with the list outside of the support account, because I just want to have them as high as possible. The only other supporter I would consider is maybe Acerola. That's been in a couple of lists. I know Frank's Internet's list played Acerola. I think it played 2. But his was a rainbow build. And when you're playing an Elixir build, using an Acerola gets rid of attachments, and it's almost like you've whiffed Elixirs if you're picking energy off your board. So that could be... Well, it's sort of anti-synergistic with the role that we're trying to play with this certain list. So that's why Acerola isn't in here. But yeah, I've been having a little bit of fun with Buzzgarb. It's a strange deck to play. I think it does lack a bit of draw at times, and it can be a little bit awkward, but Garbodor makes every other deck so much worse. So it's almost like neither player gets to play the game optimally, but Buzzwole is strong enough on his own that you don't need to be optimal every single turn to win the game. And that's pretty much how I feel this deck does function. And it's been doing well recently, so I thought it's a good time to profile this archetype. It's one that when Buzzwole first came out, a lot of people actually paired Garbodor with Buzzwole, and it didn't really do too well initially, but now it feels like the metagame shifted to a point where this deck can function and do well. It looks like we might even be in a mirror match here for our first game. I feel fairly confident in a mirror because we're playing 10 basic energy and Sudowoodo. They're almost, even though like energy isn't really a tech card, playing the 10th copy sometimes can be a big deal in mirror matches because it means you hit your elixirs that small percentage higher, and that can be the difference between winning and losing mirrors, really. We have a pretty nice starting hand. We have that Brooklet Hill Max Elixir combo. We are definitely in a mirror match here. They're playing Fury Belts as well. So hopefully our Sudowoodo isn't prized. Not every list plays Pseudo, so I feel comfortable in a mirror match. 3 mulligans is insanely good for us. And they lead with their Buzzwole. We are going to slap the Brooklet Hill straight down. I know it can help them, but we have an Elixir in hand and we're not afraid to use it. Looks like we prized our basic Carbink, but that's not too big of an issue. You can normally pluck it out in the mid to late game and that should be fine. Prized 1 Guzma. Prized a Cynthia. Prized a Belt. And still have all of our energy in deck, so these elixirs should be going pretty nicely. Not going to put the Sudowoodo straight down. I'm going to opt to elixir onto a Buzzwole first and see where that gets us. We are going to hit 1 elixir. That's very nice. We have the option now to, if we attach active, it sort of means we need to hit more elixirs. If we attach bench, I think that's probably our safest bet. We just start blowing up Buzzwoles. I'm not going to commit a strong energy just yet in case they're playing E-Hammer. There's a handful of lists that do. I don't think we really need to play a supporter this turn. or the tool. I mean, we could just start thinning as much as possible, really. I don't think it's actually bad. We can just start thinning some stuff. We have to be aware that we are a Garb deck, so thinning our own deck is going to be somewhat of a priority here. We have drawn into another Max Elixir. We can probably hold this. Yeah, we can hold this. Nah, let's... If I'm going to play it, I should play the Lele anyway to play around parallel. So, this is probably fine. I'm just going to grab Sycamore here. And we'll fire off an Elixir. Failing us this time, bear in mind we do have 2 in our hand, so that wasn't too unlikely. Playing around their Field Blower. It's so rare that they play Blower, and if they do, it's a one-of. I'm not going to play around it. I'd rather keep this Buzzwole as healthy as possible. We know they're playing Fury Belts, so it's not like they could Choice Band, Jet Punch, and do like 90 or anything like that, but still getting like... The difference between 30 and 60 can sometimes be big because it forces absorption rather than knuckle impact, and that can be helpful. They're going to Brooklet Hill out their Carbink straight away. Looks like they're also playing Energy Keeper. They're going to attach a basic energy for turn. Going to see an Ultra Ball as well. Looks like they've got a decent hand, especially when they're getting rid of supporter cards. They're going to grab themselves another Buzz. They've got their own Max Elixir. That fails them. And they do have Wonder Tag. Looks like if they're going to get rid of a Cynthia, it means they're probably Sycamoring this turn. Or they could even have a turn 1 Lily play. Yep, it's going to be Lily. Lily is, of course, in the Collinsville American lists. Very good when you can get down to 1 card in your hand, but that's not always the case. That's why I'm choosing just to have Cynthia Zens and Sycamores there. More often, better cards than the Lily. But on exactly turn 1, Lily can be powerful, so I can't really argue with it. They do go for the turn 1 parallel. I'd rather lose a Lele. Good thing we played around parallel. Seems that they missed their Max Elixir. It looks like already they're in a pretty bad spot. We'll see though. Like the dream for us here is to attach the Fury Belt, Sycamore, find ourselves a way of moving this stadium so then we can put a Sudowoodo down. And that would be excellent. But they're just going to end on a Jet Punch turn. Does the Fury Belt even make sense on here? We're going to Absorption regardless, so I think it's fine. We'll just Sycamore away these 2 cards, not too painful. More Max Elixir. Would I rather it be on a Floatstone Buzz? No, I'd rather it on something else. Like this guy. And this time we get hit. And we're going to go for the Absorption. Doesn't look likely that we'll get responded on. We have the Guzma currently in our hand. And we just picked up another one from prizes. So if they go for a slow Carbink turn, we can punish that instantly with a Guzma play. Unless, of course, they end us, which is probably what they're going to look to do this turn. They're going to Fury Belt their bench. That means we have to 2-shot through the Buzzwole. They are going to attach a strong to their active. Float Stoning. Looks like they're going to play a Sycamore if they're playing all these cards. Ultra Ball. Getting rid of more fighting energy. That does fuel their Carbink break, which I imagine they're searching for this turn. There it is. And it's going to be a Sycamore, I would imagine. It could also just be an N, and they're trying to thin as much as possible. But no, it's a Sycamore. So we get to Guzma up this Buzzwole after he powers it up. So that's going to be really nice for us. We're going to instantly play it. No reason not to. So if I attach a strong here and hit him just for 50, puts him to 180, not enough for this. So I probably still just attack with this and cash in. It would have made sense if we had a Fury Belt for this guy, but we don't. So regardless, it looks like he's going to respond, then we respond, then we have to like Guzma his Lele. But he is going to play an N here, trying to stifle us. The parallel's been a little annoying that we can't put down more basics and thin our deck, but hey, looks like we drew into some good stuff. We need this elixir to hit though. Looks like 5 of our 10 fighting energies have gone. They get to play some more basics down. And there's their GX attack being played. Little optimistic, but I guess it makes sense. Drawing into a Sycamore is quite good. Getting rid of 3 Guzmas. I think the fact that we just need energy for the rest of the game means that we can just do the Sycamore play this turn. I think I'm just going to grab Sudowoodo here. We do have our last Guzma. Do I grab Pseudo or do I grab... I mean, we could basically checkmate him if we put Pseudo down. Okay, let's just grab Pseudo. Checkmate sounds like a good place to be in. Let's see if we can get lucky with an elixir. We do. That's nice. Ideally, we still hit a Fury Belt so we could Jet Punch this active. That doesn't happen. I'm going to play Brooklet Hill down so we can thin and get our Carbink down now that we drew into the break. We have a turn attachment that's definitely going to go onto Sudowoodo here. We didn't find the... didn't find the Fury Belt, so we actually have to go for the Knuckle Impact here. Bit of a shame. The alternative is to attach the fighting and the strong again, but I don't think that's very good. We still have 2 float stones in our deck, don't forget, so doing this play, again wiping all the energy off his board apart from this Carbink, seems to be pretty strong to me. And if they're playing Mahone's list, which is what it kind of looks like at this point, they only play 2 copies of N, so it may not be hugely likely that they can N us this turn, which would be good and bad. Currently we don't have Guzma in hand for game, but keeping a hand this size is very good, especially because we have a Sudowoodo that we have back on the back burner now. They're going to attach to their Buzz. Going to Fury Belt it as well. Fortunately, the Lele already has a tool on it, so that's always going to be our route to the last 2 prizes. Looks like they did a Brooklet Hill fail search, and they might just be ending up diamond gifting here. They're actually going to Sycamore. Yeah, so they didn't have the N. They had a Guzma that, but that wasn't doing much good for them. Here's an Elixir. That goes on to the Lele. Very interesting. And there's the diamond gift for 40, thanks to the strong energy. So that's not Guzma. We can thin a couple cards here before we play Sycamore. Definitely not going to end the opponent, I don't think. Because we would really like to hit a hit a floatstone this turn. That would be very nice. Thinning as many Pokemon as possible is going to be nice. We obviously don't need Garbodor. I think attaching to Carbink is best here. We have 2 floatstones left in the deck. Do hit one of them, which is nice. Gonna bench the Trubbish. Didn't draw into our Guzma, which is a bit of a shame. But we can start powering up more attackers now. Our opponent still has 4 prizes to take, and we're building up a pretty intimidating board our side. Sudowoodo threatening, both Buzzwoles threatening. Not KOs, but at least a Guzma KO. They're going to play their own Guzma here. Now we're in a spot where we don't have N. How many Guzmas have they been through? They've been through 2. Our Lele's not in deck because they're both in the bin. We can't do anything to deny him having Guzma for game, which is a bit sad. Didn't draw him to these 3 supporters would have been all very, very good at this point, but didn't draw into any of them. There's no way we KO this. It's too big. So we just got to accept that he can likely Guzma us next turn. Our Sycamore was pretty grim, basically. There's no way that we can protect this Buzzwole from knockout because it's got the floatstone on it. So we just have to hope that there's no... no Guzma. But his hand size is pretty big. Bit of a shame. I think we managed that game very nicely. I think we were always ahead in the game until we did the Sycamore turn and missed. Alrighty. Losing Mirror feels bad, especially when you play Pseudo. What went wrong? We didn't even have a slow turn ever. Basically missing Guzma for 1 turn was enough to be a problem. Maybe our Sycamore turn was too greedy, where we got like 7 energy on the board all at once. I mean, that looked really good when there was a lot of energy, but I guess we needed to charge up that many attackers. Yeah, I don't think we went wrong there. We just didn't draw into one of our 2 remaining ends in our 9-card deck. Oh well, or Guzma. We actually had a lot of outs to win that game. Or I'm saying that we would win the game if we played N, and I'm imagining that we would. They'd have to get super lucky to win after we end them to 2. Sadness. Let's get into another game though. We do have Floatstone Elixir in hand, so we'll promote Trubbish and bench Buzz. Hello there, friend. They're playing Pseudo, so it's somewhat of a mirror. It might be another Buzzgarb. Lots of them on the ladder at the moment. It's everyone's deck to try at the moment. Well, they're playing parallel, so I'm guessing it's Buzzgarb rather than Buzzrock. They're going right ahead for a Lele. They're actually playing Bridget in their list. That's one way to thin a few cards. Oh, okay. I've definitely made the wrong call. It's a Zoropod with like counter energy shenanigans. Looks like they had double parallel in their opening hand. Double elixir in our opening hand. No supporter though outside of Guzma. Like Guzma's a nice supporter of course, but uh-oh, not like this. Oh, what a clown. That's really bad for us. Okay. Okay. We really needed to draw that turn as well. Taking a prize could have really helped us. Pretty sure we're not going to win the game now. Feels bad. Well, they had a slow turn. And hey. Hey, energy that weren't in the top 12 after 2 elixirs. Thanks for joining us. I don't think we need Sudowoodo anytime soon, so I think we'll just do this. Grabbing Ultra Ball's nice. We can actually play the game now. That's always good. Promoting Lele. It's actually a pretty good attacker in this matchup. A little bit worse when we play Fury Belts, but can still threaten a good chunk here and there. They're going to Ultra Ball for another Zoroark. They must have a supporter in hand if they're getting rid of Lele's. And they're going to play N. We appreciate that. They're going to do their first trade. Getting rid of Grass Energy means they probably already have DC in hand, because otherwise they have the option of attaching to Pay Retreat into Golisopod. They also got rid of Ultra Ball, so they probably already have Golisopod. Otherwise they've made some weird trades. Well, they're spending puzzles, so that's something. Zorua Parallel. They're rating Parallel that highly. Interesting. They did have the DCE though, and they are going to Energy Drive. I think just Guzmaing the Zorua is fine here. No, Garbotoxin is pretty important at this point. Okay, let's be a little smarter about this and actually stop him drawing cards. It's probably something we should start doing. Just kidding. Let's let him draw all the cards he wants. Do I play around 2 more puzzles for a parallel? No. Not really. Could have Ultra Balled away the Lele and the Strong Energy to guarantee Garb. But who could have known we draw into a hand like this? Throwing away a Golisopod is interesting. One choice band already in the bin. They would need choice band if they want to take a KO this turn with Golisopod, or they could GX attack. E-Hammer makes me very sad. Well, that's one way to do it. So we probably need to N and Carbink. That's probably what we need to do here. And by probably, I mean that's what we have to do here. If we whiff Break and Ultra Balls, we're in a sad spot. Have 5 outs. Ideally, we also get Toxin. But Carbink breaks the first priority here. Oh dear. Oh, very much dear. Yep, looks like we lost the game. Well, those are some grim hands. I think we're always going to struggle after our opening turn of not doing anything. Trying to do things, but then didn't do things. And Cynthia into all energies, and Lele was also a little bit bad. It wasn't exactly Garbodor. And exactly Garbodor is what we really need to stabilize this matchup. Because drawing cards is just too broken. Yep, and now we can't ever stop them drawing cards. And that's bad news. And we can't really afford to use a Carbink now because that evens their prize trade. So, and there's the Ultra Ball off the top deck for the break that we needed last turn. Interesting. Tears. 6, 7, 8. Ugh. I mean, I guess. So now what do we need? Enter 5, we need Float Elixir. Do I even attach one of these two energies this turn? Yeah, I still do. It hurts Elixir outs, but I don't care. Well, we're in trouble. That's a fact. Maybe they prized their last Guzma and a puzzle. Maybe. That's our win con at this point. That 2 of their last 3 prizes are a Guzma and a puzzle. It's a pretty solid win con. Well, you know that win con we were talking about? That's gone. So, now the combination of cards we need. 1 Elixir and a Floatstone. Easy. Easy peasy. There's one of them. Easiest Elixir of my life. Well, okay then. That's fine too, I guess. We're not dead yet, officially. We're just probably very dead. We can't end them anymore either, so their hand size is just going to stay big. Huh. They actually have a slow turn. Incredible. Incredible. We do have Mallow though, and we can't end them. Mallow for puzzles can win him the game using a crossing cut, and we can't stop that. Drawing into a Guzma is actually a little bit sad face. Okay, we need to Floatstone Pseudo this turn. That's something that needs to happen. Okay. but we also want Garb. Actually, we don't really need Garb anymore. I don't know. We drew it, so we'll probably just play it. 160, 170, 180, 190, 200, 210. So we can Knuckle Impact KO if we want to. Would we rather just Absorption? 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 21, 22. It's kind of better to do it that way. We could still get End into Elixirs though. How many Ends do they still have left? Possibly 1. Okay. Just on the sake of being End into Elixirs, I'd rather hold those. Let's deal with this. And see if we can come back into this game miraculously. And I do mean miraculously. Okay. There's a Mew. He can just puzzle for Field Blower and DC, and we lost. So you know when I said we needed miracles? Yeah, we needed miracles. Not really surprising though, based on our opening turns. Luck wasn't very kind to us that game. The turn 12 Garb isn't quite good enough against Zoroark when they have 4 cards left in deck. Let's have one more game before I go back to drawing cards myself. Buzzgarb. I made you as simple as possible and you can still draw that badly. Feels bad, man. So, let's see what we have in this final game. A nice start from us. I guess one of those things where the hand looks so much better as a Brooklet Hill than it would be as a parallel. You know what I mean? Facing down a Lele. They're playing Grass Sleeves. Maybe it's another Zoropod. Maybe it's Glisspod Zoroark. Oh, sorry, Glisspod Garb. We'll find out. Got rid of a Field Blower when we're playing, when they see a Trubbish turn 1. That is interesting. They must have a pretty hot hand if they want to get rid of Field Blower. Unless they are a Glisspod Garb. They're Vikabulu, and they got that's all I have to say. They see a Trubbish and they've been a Field Blower. The hand has to be Candy Vikavolt Sycamore. Like, their hand actually can't be any other cards. Getting rid of a blower when they see a Trubbish can't be right unless that's the hand. Like, it actually can't be right. So, do we next level Sycamore? Or sorry, do we next level end their 3-card hand? Or do we just say, well, they made an error turn 1. Next leveling an N is so next level here. Is that the level that we're on, team? Is their hand exactly Candy? You know what? I just want to see what their hand... Like, in a tournament, would I end this? Their hand has to be that. There's no other way it's any other cards. It just doesn't make sense for it to be any other cards. Uh, let's see the Wombo happen in front of us next turn. Okay, that's what we're getting ourselves in for. Pressurized grubbing seems fun. Let's see how nuts this hand is. Candy Vikavolt Sycamore is my guess. Skylar. Okay, so they're holding the cards for Vikavolt. I guess that's also reasonable. So Skylar Candy were 2 of their cards. Or Skylar Vikavolt were 2 of their cards. Now we'll never know. Chose to instruct pre-strong charge. Obviously they want to attach an energy this turn to the active, so they can retreat it. This works too. Energy drive. This is where Sudowoodo developed is pretty good for us. I think protecting the float stones are going to be big, so we're going to Cynthia rather than Sycamore this hand. This elixir is a big deal. Okay, not again. Not double whiff, please. Oh, my soul. Crushed. Absolutely crushed. Soul crushing. Oh, this game is just over. Oh, man. Okay, we just hope that their 1-card hand isn't an energy. That's the hope. That's the hope. Now, he could actually next level us by attacking with Tapu Wilderness next turn. If we were to Absorption this turn, he could Tapu Wilderness next turn, and then we can't watch and learn Tapu Wilderness. That would be next level. Is he next level? He wasn't. Well, he was kind of next level with our prediction last time. I'm going to Knuckle Impact. On the off chance he is next level again. Let's see what his 1-card hand is like. Not like this. Not like this. So their opening hand must have been Double Blower. That's what they were holding. So they were holding Skylar Candy Blower. That's what it was. We figured it out. Not quite Candy Vika Sycamore. Still pretty broken though. I mean, we'd still win if we hit one of our 2 elixirs last turn. You know? But hey. Too much to ask for. Sad times. Let's see if this ends kind to us. Not really. So, a Guzma wins him the game if I do it to Buzzwole. If I do it to Pseudo, it's less game winning, but still quite good. Let's try to not lose to just a Guzma. That's the plan. They're going to Ultra Ball, probably looking for more Bulu at this point. They're probably just going to strong charge to a second Bulu, unless they want a Lele for a supporter. Going to fail the search. That's interesting. Very interesting. Committing to the Mew just for one energy. Again, it just opens the door to be punished by Toxin coming back down. Well, they're all in. Skylar isn't Guzma. Skylaring for Field Blower. Yeah, Tapu Wildernessing is pretty smart. It's a shame we couldn't gift back any strong energies. If I was to knock out the Vikavolt this turn... Now, if I'm to Guzma out his Mew this turn and just Jet Punch it, is that the best thing to do? Yeah, that's the best thing to do. Top decking a tool would be a maze. Okay. We never pull out Zygarde. I guess he's the same as any single prize Pokemon. He's not a card we want to draw, so we'll fish him out. We're very behind. Very behind. Again, it's those two elixirs. This deck is literally hit your elixirs, win the game. Miss your elixirs, lose the game. That's my analysis. So, if you like trying to hit elixirs, this is the deck for you. Top deck N is the play now, and N ourselves into... Okay, not even that wins us game. Is there a way that we can win the game now? No. No's the answer. There is no way to win this game. I guess we could Guzma Watch and Learn. That could win us the game. And hope they don't have basic energy in hand. Well, that didn't happen. Hoping he has no Guzma and trying to keep this stuck. I guess is what we're trying to do here. I don't know what's going on. What can we even do here? Got no buzzes left. Everything dies to any of his stuff. We're powering up attackers, I guess. Stuff's happening. Can confirm. we want to keep this trapped, so we'll just hit it for 120. I'm pretty sure he can just field blower, attach, and he's there. Or a Guzma. He had so many outs. We knew he had floats. We knew he had field blower in hand though. They're gonna Rodney back a bunch of energy. And a Lele, sure. Why not? Oh wow, they actually need Instruct Draw. And the physical switch is enough as well to win game. Well, that also went quite poorly. So, I made this deck look very average by missing some elixirs. If we hit one of those 2 elixirs on either game, I think we're actually fine. It's just that we happened to miss back-to-back in 2 games in a row, and it put us very behind. You can see on the weaknesses, the deck is focused on high-energy attacking Pokemon. Buzzwole is the main one. Sudowoodo is in here to make it a little bit less of a problem, but when you still miss your elixirs, this deck can look very average. I do think it's a top-tier archetype. I think a lot of people will be playing it. It is very focused on elixirs. Even if you're playing a 2-2 Carbink line, like, don't feel like because we were low on energies, a 2-2 Carbink is correct. I'm still very certain that a 1-1's enough. It's just missing elixirs will hurt in both archetypes. Because the Carbink turn is still very slow and you still just lose a lot of tempo. So, yeah, I think the moral of the story is hit your elixirs in future and test this deck out for yourselves to see how good it can be. My results have been mixed. I definitely don't like this as much as just playing Zoroark myself, because I'm very much on board with drawing cards. But trying to deny the opponent is still a big way to win games, and there's a lot of reason why this is doing well recently. So do try it out yourselves. Let me know what you think about this list. As I said earlier, trying to simplify it as much as possible to give yourself the best draws possible. Not quite panning out in those games, but hey, let me know what you guys think. Please leave a like to this video if you did. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and let me know what more decks you want to see from the standard format. We'll be dipping our toe into expanded for the next few live streams, because there is the next regional that myself and maybe Jack will be attending is going to be an expanded one. So I think in standard we'll still be doing a few deck reviews and analysis and stuff like that, but I think be aware that expanded will be coming into our streams very soon. So let me know what you guys think about all that. And yeah, I think that's it for today. It has been Joe from OmniPoke, and I'll be seeing you guys next time. Cheers.